6:50.
And this thing's doing its spinning. Oh, it worked.
All right, I'll call the meeting to order at 7, and I will seek Lise Wood for Candace Alex. So the first item of old business is discussion with DPW Old Hampton Road improvements. Thank you, Todd.
Hi. Todd Rowland, Director of Public Works. So Joanne told me that you'd like to talk to me about some of the things we've done on Old Hampton Road. I did prepare a memo to kind of give you the background and history of what's transpired and why we did what we've done. Old Hampton Road was accepted as a town road in 1989 by the Board of Selectmen under a blanket acceptance when they accepted 81 roads at that same date, January 9th, 1989. I think they did that because all of those roads weren't actually town roads at the time, and that was running into issues with the property owners having issues. So they wanted to start fresh, I think is what really happened. For the next 25 years or so, the road wasn't really, the Public Works Department really didn't do much other than make sure it was somewhat passable for four-wheel drive vehicles. In 2016, we were approached by a property owner who had purchased property at the up towards the Massachusetts line of Old Hampton Road, and stated he intended to build a house and requested that we improve the road to a spec that it could be driven by a passenger car. So we started to make some more improvements to the road. We widened the road. We took down some trees. We replaced one rotten culvert at that time. Made it a little bit easier so you could drive it ostensibly with a passenger car. And that was about all that we did to it. In April of 21, we were again approached by the same owner stating that, or demanding that we make additional improvements. So we did. We added some gravel and millings, made it a little wider, did some more culvert work, and started conducting winter maintenance on the road at that time with the anticipation that houses may go up at the end, so we would have to make it possible for school buses. In 22, we were then reminded by the owner again that it wasn't up to a complete spec as a gravel road. At that time, I had an engineering firm do a review of the road and make recommendations and also give me an opinion of probable cost on improving the road, and it was well beyond something the town could wrestle with. We did, that's the time that we widened the road considerably, took a lot of trees down, put millings on the road. We also replaced, I think, 4 or 5 culverts, which were in pretty poor condition. And that's kind of how the road is today. We do maintain it fully as a gravel road now. We do plow it in the wintertime. So that's what you see today. A lot of these discussions were had in executive session, and we had a couple with our attorney to see what our options were. Because the road was never, it was a public road after we did our research and found it was a public road, but it had never been treated as a public road, it never conditioned as a public road, so there was quite a bit of deferred maintenance that needed to happen in order to make this dwelling available for typical traffic on a gravel road. So that's kind of what we did. At that time, I didn't come to the commission for any permits because my understanding was that typical maintenance included replacement of culverts. Maybe I should have come to you for a permit. It was kind of it wasn't done at one and done. We did this over many, many years, a little bit at a time, trying to mollify the resident up there, who actually still hasn't built a house. I understand he was trying to sell the lot, and what I think happened is that when he got the price from Eversource on running power up there, he decided not to build because Eversource is happy to run power, but I understand that you have to pay for the poles and the infrastructure if it's only one house.
This parcel 90, Old Hampton, is like right on the state
It's
line?
all the way up on the right on the Cooksville side. I think it's technically 3 lots down.
Okay.
kind of, it's next to the old roadway that actually used to go up to Cooksville, which is kind of still there, but it's all private property now. Last I knew, he was trying to sell it because somebody else had called stating they were interested in that parcel. I gave him the background, and I don't think anything's ever happened since then. I think anybody going up there is going to have the same issue with bringing power in is going to be very expensive. It could be a beautiful place to live, but it's going to be costly.
So, yeah, we were made aware of some concerns, in terms of the town work in the road with the culvert replacement. Obviously, you probably know what's the name of the stream that dissects or
Thrasher.
Thrasher, yeah.
That's Thrasher. So yeah, we were kind of surprised to find out that all those improvements were made with no real consultation with the commission. But I'm just curious, so what's the precedent? Because the town must have other unimproved roads, right? What's the precedent for property owners to come to the
Well, nothing to the extent of Old Hampton Road. The other unimproved roads, we have County Road, which is the only scenic road in town, which was designated in 2000, and that's maintained. I mean, there's houses up there. I've been there for 25 years, and we maintain that for all traffic. And then there's Camp Road, which we also maintain for all traffic, a cut through, and there's a house on Anti Post there, and the dam. So Old Hampton Road is unique because it's the only road in town that was of that nature. Mm-hmm. And all of the other, this road we put mostly millings on, not the entire thing, but the other roads we put fully faced with millings. The state doesn't consider them unimproved anymore. Mm-hmm. Old Hampton is the only unimproved road in town, unless you consider the dead section between County Road, which is, there's an area there's the first three houses off of Main Street, and in between is we don't maintain that.
Like a single lane section there?
It's hard to get
it's closed. That
Walk
section.
at your own risk.
Yeah.
So there's
I guess-
go ahead, sorry.
I'm just wondering, maybe when you did this work, what kind of preventative measures were put in for making sure there wasn't a ton of sediment being dropped in the brook?
Well, when we did it, it was dry. Thankfully, there was no flow at the times that we were doing these. The majority of the work, when we did the plastic pipes on the south, that was a very dry year. I don't think there was any flow. The only time we did a triple culvert, and then we coffer dammed, one, because there wasn't much flow. We did the two culverts, then we switched over and did the last culvert and coffer dammed that off. But the upper culverts it's fairly stagnant most of the time.
Are any of those culverts the stream itself, or are they just
It's where it
drainage?
crosses. No, it's stream crossings.
So it's the stream itself that's crossing the road?
Yes.
It's not just other drainage areas that
It's
are feeding
both.
into?
It's both.
It's both.
There's runoff culverts, and then there's the stream crossing up above, which is the first culvert, and then it comes down along, on the Stafford Road side.
Yeah.
The lower culverts are runoff from the hill, in that whole area that's kind of at the base of the hill that that floods from time to time.
I think why we brought this to Joanna's attention more was that it looked, in order to do the work, that there's wetlands on one side, there's the stream on the other side, and it just looked like the work, especially with the size of the culverts, must have been done in wetlands and water courses. And, so your explanation that it wasn't flowing at the time, that's a good thing. We had been told that there used to be a lot more aquatic wildlife that's not there anymore, that seemed to disappear after this work was done. So I don't know what the area looked like before the culverts were put in, but I think going forward, it's a good idea to at the least run things by Joanna, and then she makes the determination if it should come before the commission. Because I know that in other times when you've come before us for work that seemed less intrusive to wetlands than this project. So, again, if you were doing it over time and, it was like a little bit at a time and it was during a dry spell, that's better, certainly, than what
Could have been.
Yeah.
and what I saw.
No, I appreciate that, and I'll keep that in mind moving forward. This was unique in that the demands and requests were done over time, and
Right.
what can we do to get to a reasonable settlement with the requester without expending a whole lot of funds and effort on something that probably isn't going to make any difference to them anyways. But had we done it as a full project, then I would have gone for plans and permits. But yes, but I definitely take that under advisement, and moving forward when I have these kind of things coming, then I'll talk about it with Joanne and come up with some plans.
What so I remember you here at least 2 meetings within the past couple of years. One was Billings Road. There was some drainage.
Yeah, that hasn't. Russo's working on that right now.
And
that
then
plan.
what's the other one off
Off of Bilton,
maybe?
the Pinedale,
I think
Oh,
you
the
guys were
trench?
just like
Yeah.
reestablishing like a drainage ditch or something.
Not reestablishing, just cleaning it out. We
Yeah.
cleaned that out
Okay.
twice
So
from.
those weren't permits. So you were just coming here just to give us
let us
some
know.
little
I think-
update in that we would
Yeah.
want to do this work.
we might have found the
Well,
exempt.
the
We might have
Billings
done
might have been a permit. That's a permit, I think, for
Yeah,
Billings.
I think so. I'm trying to
But
remember.
that
now.
project hasn't started yet. I don't even have costs on it yet. That's still in design.
I mean, this looks to be pretty significant amount of work. I mean, in the stream, in wetlands, and I'm just, to Joan's point, like kind of shocked that you guys have come to us for much smaller things. But, whether it's potential lawsuits, cranky property owners, whatever, like, it doesn't circumvent the regulations of the town. And so I'm just kind of shocked that that amount of road work was done without,
Well,
any discussion.
At each request, it wasn't, I have a huge project. It's, we're going to do this bit, we're going to take some trees down, we're going to replace this culvert, now we're going to replace these
In
culverts.
2022,
we
said it
did
was significant.
we did the
including
road
4 to
widening and
5
trees, yeah.
culverts, a cofferdam. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's wetland permits all day long. I mean, So I'm just.
And we owe it to the residents of the town. I mean, we need to talk to each other. That's why we have these commissions in place, and we make sure we're doing everything right. I mean,
Understood.
we put we make owners follow these rules. The town needs to follow them too.
True. Fair point.
Any other culvert projects coming up? You don't have any money? We don't have any money, right?
We don't have any money.
I mean, it looks to be in decent shape now. So, other than there's one area where it looked like, and I assume it was the town, where there was a pretty significant cut into the hill, and there's exposed roots and dirt and everything. It's further down.
Oh,
from
going up the hill?
Yeah, it's on
Yeah.
the left. There's one area there that I just envision, but I'm not sure that there are wetlands that would be affected in that area. But it just
there
looks
isn't,
like
but-
it could be a fair amount of.
Well, there's a lot of discussion with the engineer about how to, we'd have to cut that back, and that would involve land taking, and then how do you armor it, and
Right. Yep.
we would like to do that, but
We'll just keep an eye on that as far as
Yeah.
erosion and whatnot goes.
it's been pretty solid for whatever it is, 4 years now.
Has there been any kind of maintenance other than like plowing since 2022?
But we go up and grade it,
Oh, you
as far
do?
as
Because I think one
fill
of
in the pot, like we do Camp Road.
Yeah.
Fill the potholes, and
that's like an annual kind of as needed thing.
yeah, it's the highway foreman will go up and check every month or so. And
Okay.
I mean, the summers are okay. The shoulder seasons, you tend to get more potholes. The winter, we don't do much other than plow it. Camp Road has a lot more traffic, so there's a lot more potholes on Camp Road. But anytime they're going out, they'll go out and check County, check Camp Road, and check Old Hampton Road and fill the potholes.
Okay. I know a resident had said that it looked like there was recent grading work done on that
We
road,
went out
so that was most
A
likely
few
the
weeks
town
ago,
that
it was
did that.
before the big storm.
Okay.
Yeah. It's usually Camp Road or County. We got one resident in County that emails all the time. You know, when those get washboardy or Camp Road gets a lot of potholes, they'll go out, they'll spend a day and just go fill the potholes and regrade with a skid steer.
Any other comments? No? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
During audience participation, because we've got a long agenda here, so if you don't mind. Okay, discussion possible decision application 823, 122 Watchog Road, improvement of Farm Road and wetland and upland review area, including culvert crossing of Hall Hill Brook, Oak Ridge Dairy.
Good evening.
Hello.
Jane's got a plan also on, oh, actually, this might be, unless I have an alternative. Oh, okay, yeah. So we have, this is actually a slightly different plan than this, but Jane will go over that so we can. You want to put this on there?
You want another one?
We good another plan?
I think you need one more.
No, I think drowning in paper.
Do you have the application and
For the record, Jay Ursary, J.R. Russo and Associates here representing Oak Ridge Dairy. Also with me here tonight is Dave Moser from Oak Ridge. So you may recall at our last meeting we had a discussion about the crossing and the culvert, and basically I think what we ended up getting into was some alternatives as to, did we look at any other way to get from Watchog Road out here to the edge of the field, and if we did, what were those options and what were the alternatives? And we talked about a number of things, and I think at a request of you folks sitting here, we came up with, I'm going to ask you again just to pass those down. Oh, you already got them? Yeah. Okay, Joanna's way ahead of me.
No, I think, I emailed them out, but I think some printed on their own.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, take some.
Sometimes we're prepared.
I'm like, don't give me too much credit.
So we
the only one?
we talked about different things when we were here, and we looked at some different alternatives. We, since the last meeting, have been out with Joanna. We walked it, took a look at it, explained exactly what we were doing, and we think we've made some modifications based on that. But I think in terms of looking at alternatives, I think one of the first things that we did talk about was coming in off of Watchog Road and coming through the field to the east of the brook. My partner Tim Kuhn put together some of these things for you, and it's about 2,000 feet of access road that we would have to build through the field coming in from Watchog Road, which eliminates, as we talked about, a fair amount of cropland, which they are obviously trying to prevent the loss of that. I think in this particular case, at the 2,000 feet, it was about 3/4 of an acre of actual silage corn land that would be lost due to the construction of the road, and it doesn't eliminate, as we talked about, the crossing of the stream in order to get the water and the power out to the area out to the edge of the field. I also, I think, mentioned to you at the time that we were working on another project in another town where we had a similar crossing to this, where we had done a box culvert. It was in design, and I think I mentioned to you that it was about an $80,000 expense in order to install the box culvert for this proposed driveway. And I was wrong. I got the 80 right. I missed the 100. It was 180,000, and Tim talks about that if you've read through this in here. And that's another project that is actually about ready to go to construction. It's a much larger farm than this particular place here. And it's a different type of a project. It's a horse farm. But it's a $180,000 culvert to cross to get in where they're building buildings and many other things. It's a much more intense project than this one.
Is it a pretty culvert?
Actually, you can't see it.
Okay.
It's
So
all
I'm just
in the
wondering,
ground.
it's on a horse farm, maybe
and
there's some aesthetics for the
It's
price.
going to be buried. You're not even going to see any of it. You're just taking a whole lot of money and putting it in the ground, basically. So the other thing we talked about here, we were originally showing you a 42-inch culvert, which takes care of the flow for this during a 100-year storm event. But after talking about it in the office, Tim and I kind of went through it a little bit. And what we thought would be a better option, and this basically relates to the fact that if you look at the historic mapping here, they call this a perennial watercourse or perennial stream. Now, Dave will tell you that it dries up in the summertime, and that doesn't surprise me, because when we were out there, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, Joanne, and we were there 3 weeks, I don't remember exactly.
Excuse me, can I interrupt for a second?
It's not a public hearing.
It's not a public hearing, yeah.
This is a public hearing?
No.
Oh, so we can't see the map either? Unless we move ourselves over to see you guys and go in that way? That's what I was asking.
Okay.
I mean, you guys are all looking at a map. We see the back of it, but we don't see the front of it. So we have no idea what you're talking about or he's talking about.
Perfect. Thank you.
That'd be nice, thank you. Didn't mean to interrupt, but
That's
now we
okay.
can see it.
So when we went back out and we took a look at this thing, well, Joanna and I had been out there numerous times before with Dave, there's not much of a flow right now. You can walk right through it. I walked over it when I was out there, I don't know, a month and a half ago. And as Dave has told you, it dries up in the summertime, which doesn't surprise me because there wasn't a whole lot of flow. But due to the fact that the historical mapping calls it a perennial stream, we thought maybe we should put in a slightly larger culvert. And typically what we do in this situation is we take it and we kind of bury it. And I'll show you here in a second on the detail. So we bumped it up from the 42 up to a 60 inch, and we're basically embedding it into the ground, and we'll put a natural bottom in it. And you end up with about a 4 to 5 foot wide natural stream bed, gravel bottom, which is essentially similar to what's there now. Even though it's a pipe, it's given it a natural bottom. So, and that's what we decided on in this particular case, and it's shown if you look at the page on those plans, you'll see a detail of that. It adds a little cost, probably brings us up to the $19,000 to maybe $20,000 range to install this versus the 42-inch without. It's probably around $15,000. So it's not a tremendous amount of money. It's about another $5,000 or so to do that, but we felt that might be a better option versus the 42-inch, which is a little small, and it really doesn't change any of the disturbance any at all. It's still just over that 4,000 square feet of disturbance that we originally had talked about. It doesn't change that at all. We also added, and I think, I'm going to flip the page here.
Yeah. This
I
one
think-
should be.
Oh, I think you were the one that was what this might, the cross section and what this might look like. So this is it here, and this is with the 60-inch. So we've got a culvert here, and then we're going to come back in and we'll fill it as we install it. So we end up with a natural bottom here in the culvert, and then coming underneath is the electrical and the water. It'll come right down underneath it. And you can see we've got the 42 inches here for frost protection for the water that comes through. There's also details here of the scour hole, tracking pad. Tim's got here a little pump settling basin in case we have to put in a little cofferdam and pump, depending on when this is done. If there's no water, obviously that's not necessary, just as Todd was talking about earlier here. But this gives you a feel for what it looks like in terms of a cross section.
Is that unusual? with that.
So those were the alternatives that we looked at based on our conversations with Joanna when we were out there in the field. We felt the larger pipe with the natural bottom was probably the best thing to do in terms of prudent and feasible. It's still affordable. It's not a $180,000 box culvert bridge. We're not ripping up part of the agricultural field and putting in a driveway and losing 3/4 of an acre of cropland. So other than that, the plan is exactly as you had seen it before. There really aren't any changes. So with that said, if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
And I have
Myself or
a few
Dave.
photos that I printed from our visit. So the first one is towards the front of the property. You can see the old well house that'll be used. One thing we talked about when we were out on the site is that front area, there's just not enough room for their intended use there, which is part of the reason for the crossing. But also, either way, they'd have to get the utilities, the water, across the stream. And then the second photo is a picture of the area of the stream we were discussing, the crossing. And then on the back side, you'll see a zoomed in version of that and a zoomed out version of that. Got it from a few angles. And then the one all on its own is just a picture from closer to the front of the property of that, the old farm road that they're going to improve as part of this project. And then also, I think Jay alluded to it, but we also, last meeting, had looked at the
letter
soil
from
scientist
Rick.
report. Yeah. If anyone wants, I have a few copies still of Rick Zulick's report.
Do we know if that brook ever floods? Like, is there? I'm not sure.
There's no flood zone shown on the FEMA mapping in this section of the brook. There is flood zone further to the south of this, but it doesn't come up into here.
I'm just thinking if you put a culvert in a big flood, then you might lose a lot of land.
I
but-
think what I explained at the last meeting is what we did is we looked at the culvert above and below, and history has told us that it hasn't topped over either one of those roads in the last number of years. And historically, here in Summers, you had a 100-year event in 2006. Five?
I want to say 5, but somewhere in there.
5 or 6, I don't remember exactly. I do remember it only because DEEP actually put out a special report on that storm event. And the town of Summers, the town of East Windsor, and I believe Towland, there were specific mentions of all of those towns because it was pretty hard hit.
Gulf Stream was in this.
Gulfstream up on Stafford Road, there was a couple of houses that had driveways with bridges that were gone.
Oh, yeah.
They couldn't get in and out of their homes. So there was a specific report, and I don't think at that point in time either one of these overtopped. So we looked at those two culverts, took the size, and that's how we came up with what we have here.
I meant to point out with this photo too, and I could send it back around, but the area roughly where the plunge pool with scour area would be is actually where the stream, which, you know, appears to be historically altered long ago, takes a hard turn and has been eroding that corner because it doesn't, streams don't like to take like a 90-degree turn normally. But so that's, I think this photo also might have been hard to tell which way was up on it. So I'll send this one back around. But this is, the area would be sort of rip-wrapped.
That's the downstream portion, that top corner? Downstream of the...
That is,
Right?
yeah.
Actually, if you look, you can see it pretty good if you follow the blue right on here. True, but this is, here we are coming south from Watchog, and it actually takes a 90-degree bend right there. And there's actually a little bit of erosion right on the corner
I think
here.
that's
So
right.
it might show in the picture.
Yeah.
Which this will actually take care of that. The riprap and the scour hole for this will actually take care of. As it turns the corner, it's kind of
So
eating into
this
the bank.
this area here is the old stream crossing, essentially?
Yeah, they seem to just kind of ford the river and
Yeah, you can kind of see right here where they actually drove right through. And if you were there, you can actually see the wheel tracks. And it was, there's, actually Joanna pointed it out, there's some gravel right there, right where this is. And the rest of the stream bed doesn't really appear to be gravel. It's more of a, I would call it a sandy, loamy bottom, maybe even a little clayishy looking. But it appears that they probably had dumped gravel right into the brook and they were driving right over it. Some of it's still laying there in the brook. You could see the wheel tracks where they drove through onto the opposite side. But, and there is a very sharp bend. Although I think I had mentioned to you, when you go back and look at the 34 Yukon area, which is the oldest I can find that I can look at, it's in exactly the same location in 34 as it is today. It hasn't changed.
So I have a couple questions. One, how did you guys get to the length of 42 feet?
So, in order to get the width that we wanted here, which I think we're at 12 feet. I'm looking at this upside down, so it's a little hard.
I see that right here.
It's 12 feet
That's
here.
the width of the road.
And then we're sloping down off of that at 3 to 1 for the Avenue Road. And then we're coming into the plunge pool here on this side. So by the time we put the pipe in and we get some, what we would call a reasonable slope, so it doesn't drop off very quickly if somebody were to drive along the edge, to make it safe, that's where you end up with the width that we have here in terms of the pipe length.
So, just in comparison, you referenced this Enfield Farm project, which is a sizable three-sided culvert, 28 feet wide.
Yes.
So how did you engineer that 28 feet wide and this one 42 feet? Like, it just seems like pretty wide. And I know what you're saying about like you need the extra length of the pipe to accommodate, but it's a 12-inch or 12-foot road that you're trying to maintain that access all the way across the stream. You need another 30 feet of culvert to accommodate that?
So think about this table, right? We're at about 12 feet, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we slope down from there at a 3 to 1 slope down to the edge of the pipe in the flared end. So here we've got our 12 feet. We've got our slope on this side. We've got a plunge pool. We come up to this end. We've got another 3 to 1 slope here sloping down, which is a slope that we typically say is a mobile slope. Max 3 to 1. 2 to 1, not so much. And that's where we end up with that full width.
Is that, is there like something that shows that in like a cross section or anything that just like to visualize the?
This.
This is to scale. No, that's not to scale. That's not to scale, but obviously that's what it looks like with the pipe. I mean, I could do something if you wanted to see it, but if you look at the contour lines here, you can see them. You see we're up at the, this is 222, we're coming down here, there's 2, 4, 6, and this is 3 to 1. So 6 feet, 3 to 1, there's 18. And we got the same thing on the other side.
So probably a trade-off would be to make it
Could make it steeper.
narrower. You'd have to make it steeper, probably riprap
It.
instead of vegetation.
But it's more of a safety thing than anything else. It could we pinch it in? I guess we could. It would be something I'd have to talk to Dave about. It's really a safety thing. If somebody gets over a little farther than they should, you don't want to have them slide off, but then it wouldn't be vegetated, it would be stone. Which would save, so if we're looking at, we could probably save maybe 10 or 12 feet pinching it in.
Yeah.
At a 2 to 1.
I'm just curious. Yeah, it just seems like for a 12-foot driveway, essentially farm road, whatever you want to call it, 42-foot culvert just struck me as a lot.
Yeah,
but I get what you're saying.
It's got a little hump in it. All right, we talked about that because we need cover over the pipe, right? So it does come up a little bit, and then we're grading it down on either side.
Gotcha. And then going back to the cross section real quick. So, can you explain like how with the 60-inch pipe how you establish this stream bed? You mentioned that the natural stream seems to be
so
like
it comes in sections. Right, the pipe, it's not 42 feet in one piece. So in that size, I think they're going to be 12s.
20 probably? I'm not sure. Is it possible?
Yeah,
I think it's 20 footers.
20 footers.
Lots
So-
of kinds of.
So they're going to put in a section at a time, and then they're going to put the material into it before they put the next section on it.
it's by hand though. It's,
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So they're basically shoveling it in, raking it
Yes,
out.
yep.
And what is that material exactly?
It'll be gravelly material, and honestly, what's going to end up happening, the natural stream as it flows, because there's always a little bit of silt and sediment,
Sure.
it'll fill it right in,
Yep.
and it'll be a natural bottom.
Okay. And then I think my last question is on the utilities, the electrical and water. So on this cross section, it shows kind of the existing grade here, your finished grade. It looks like the water line is, well, I'm not sure exactly
The
how
water's
deep.
42 below for frost protection.
So you're showing that like underneath the pipe,
going
basically
under,
42
correct.
inches below what you guys are going to create as the new bottom of the.
Correct, yep.
What is the disturbance depth to install those utilities and backfilling and all that look like with?
The disturbance doesn't change. Disturbance is the same.
Well, you're digging deeper through the stream bed, correct?
That's not disturbance. Disturbance is measured on a flat surface and horizontal plane. When you're talking about wetland disturbance, we're not talking about how deep.
No, I'm not talking
how
about
deep we're
wetland
digging.
disturbance. I'm just talking about what.
How deep
Physical.
is the
Yeah, what's the
trench? Is that
physical?
what you want to know?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got, let's see here, existing 222, 219, 3, and it's about 9 to 10 feet to the water line from existing ground.
9 to 10 feet down.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And that's just where the stream crossing is. That's the depth you have to get to put the.
It'll be 48 inches everywhere else.
Okay. And then
Same
that's,
as basically the same as a water main that you'd have in the street, and minimum depth is 4 feet.
and what do you backfill those with? Is that
Sand.
clean sand?
Yep.
Okay.
So that's from the finished grade that's there now, from below the pipe.
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt. I don't know if there's any
No,
other
I think I'm
questions.
good. Yeah.
Just procedural things. You don't have to go to this now, but just at the last meeting, it was the application was received, so you have options tonight of you can act on it tonight. You can also opt to vote on whether it's a significant activity or not. There's, I was going to just pass, last time I read that definition of a significant impact activity. This time I just made copies so you could read it yourself. And then, let's see. So if you were to determine that you wanted to hold a public hearing, whether you find that it's a significant activity or if you believe that it's, I should find the actual wording, but let's see. Sorry. Or if you find that a public hearing would be in the public interest. So I'm just going to hand around two pieces of paper. These are just taken straight from the wetland regulations. And I'm just going to, but that's just because you were typing. And then the second one is talking about what I was just referring to, the different times that you may have to hold a public hearing, just so you have that information as you consider this. But yeah, so far, we have the presentations at the last meeting, this meeting, and then, as Jay mentioned, I visited the site with him and with Dave Mosier, and I presented these photos, and we had the report from Rick Zulik, the soil scientist, as well. I know at the last meeting it felt a little premature to decide whether it was significant or not, so I'm not sure if what's been presented tonight has been helpful or not.
It has, but I do feel that it's in the best interest of the public to have a public hearing. I know you don't want to hear that, but I think there's a lot of confusion about what's happening, and I just think we need
There's no confusion.
to provide more
There's no
education.
confusion.
Well, we're not going to discuss it right
We're
now.
not ignorant. Don't treat us like we're ignorant. There you go. Okay? You know what's going on.
Well, I think we just need to have a public hearing so we can learn more about what their plans are and make a decision from that and not make assumptions, because we're not quite sure.
Thank you.
I also want to remind everybody that the Wetlands Commission only has certain jurisdiction. We don't have any control over trucks or traffic or fertilizer. We are only dealing with this road and this crossing. Just so you know that that's the extent of what we can discuss and vote on.
Tell us how the road is to be used just in general?
The road, they were going to, my understanding is they were going to truck in manure, mix it with the water, and they're going to be using an irrigation system to fertilize the land. Nothing's going to be sprayed. It's going to be at ground level, and it's going to be a diluted mixture placed on the crops during the growing season. So,
But the access is Watchog Road.
no, this is off of Four Bridges.
Give an overview?
Concentrated school on site.
So I can explain it to you. I don't know if any of you were at the other meeting when the other thing was going on down on Watchog Road. The equipment that they were going to use there is the same equipment that we're talking about today. Only there's not going to be any lagoons. There's not going to be any ponds. There's simply going to be what we call trailers. These things are on wheels. They're registered vehicles. And they're mixing manure and water and applying it as fertilizer and irrigation. It's already being used in Summers. It's being used in Ellington. It's being used in a number of towns. It's relatively new. It's high technology, but it's not what they were looking at on Watchog Road, which...
But that's what they're doing on Watchog Road. Last year, they had those large mobile containers, and they put the manure in. They had the water, and that's what they were doing.
I just said, yes, they've been doing it in Summers. And
Right.
this is what will happen over here on this field. They were doing it over on Hillborough Road.
Okay.
And that's probably where you saw it. And they're doing it in other places. I wasn't aware that they did it there, but maybe they did. But that's what this is for. There's no lagoons. It's simply a fertilization and irrigation process that goes right over the plant as it's growing, And once it gets up to a certain height, it stops, and that's the end of it. And that'll happen each season. So it's much different than what you saw or heard at a meeting a year or a year and a half ago. I don't remember.
Right, but no longer can those vehicles pump on Watchog because it says no stopping, no standing.
There's not going to be any vehicles on Watchog
So
Road.
there might be a confusion because the agenda says 122 Watchog, but that's just the property
That's
address.
the property address.
The access is off
The
Four
entrance
Bridges.
to this is on Four Bridge
Right.
Road. Yeah.
Okay.
There'll be no vehicles on Watchog Road.
And I just wanted to mention too, as the chair was stating, there's general farming activities, and the definition of farming is very broad. Generally are exempt when it comes to wetland regulation, but the reason this application is here is because of that wetland crossing. And the actual, storage of manure is actually outside of the 100-foot upland review area that this commission generally regulates. But there are other processes in town. There's other levels of review. I did have a conversation. The zoning enforcement officer had asked me about this application, and she had taken a look at the plans, and so she would have at least, and if nothing else, an administrative zoning review of the project, and would determine whether it needs to go through the planning and zoning commission as well. But this commission is somewhat limited in scope, and especially when it comes to agriculture. So,
We're really just looking at the stream crossing. That's all we're looking at. We're not looking at the application of the manure. We're not looking at any of that. Strictly the stream crossing.
By the way, I apologize for raising my voice, but we've been fighting this battle now for a long time, and we're just tired of it.
I understand. I'm a
we should get
resident too.
ahead.
I live in this
We
town
should
with
get
you.
ahead. We just don't want this going on in our town.
It's an end run around your
All right? We don't want that stuff all over our roads and that.
so
It's horrendous.
the manure is spread as already as a practice.
It's brought in tankers. And those tankers leak all
Yeah.
over the roads.
And we shouldn't be engaging it. This is not
I
a public hearing,
understand,
but
I would think
Why
that
don't
the
they just
mixture-
give up?
I would think that the mixing of concentrated poo on site next to the wetlands would be a concern to the commission.
There was also flooding in 2000. And I know about it because I was first selectman, and myself and my son were out there with DPW trying to unblock culverts and move large branches and stones out of the roads. So this 100-year storm situation is a work of fiction.
And we're getting more of that.
Yeah.
All right, so
Motion to have a public hearing.
yeah, I mean, did you make a motion? Or you were just voicing your.
I was just voicing my opinion. I don't know how everyone else feels.
Do you want to?
if you
I mean,
were
I will just tell you I agree with you, but
if you were going to consider a public hearing, you'd want to state the rationale, whether it was a significant activity or in the public interest, because it has implications on your considerations for decision later.
yeah. You guys have any thoughts you want to share before we?
Well, it's mainly about crossing the water. It had nothing to do with roads or anything.
That's what I just.
Yep. Stream
So
crossing.
this is what you're bringing up, is the roads and the fertilizer and all that.
Yeah, but just focusing on the stream crossing, the question is like, how significant is that project, that impact? I think last month we stated that, it's not that often that we get culvert projects that are this extensive. So that's kind of what we're.
Yeah, and I passed around that definition of significant impact activity. I do think that the alternative plan does help resolve,
Yeah, it does.
to some extent, certain of these factors, such as whether it changes the natural channel or inhibit the natural dynamics of watercourse system. I think it helps widening it. So there's some mitigative efforts that have been put into the revised plan. But, you should read through A through G, the significant impact activity definition. I realize a lot of them are subjective, but whether you think it's significant impact activity and taking into consideration the soil scientist report and the nature of the channel, and then the other question is challenging whether it's a kind of the public good, where I think much of what the public is probably concerned about is less of what you have jurisdiction over, but it could, allow for, I guess, some input from the public as well.
If we were to get to that point where there's a public hearing, though, the public comments have to be strictly focused on the stream crossing, though, right? We can't discuss.
That's what I'm saying.
That would be presented at a different meeting, planning and zoning, if it gets to that point, right?
Yeah, or at least
They
they'd have to
discuss
be
whatever they want. We can't take
wetland.
it into consideration.
Right.
Yeah.
They'd have to be, wetland related. Well, you can cut off comments that are off topic about matters that are more suitable for planning and zoning. But
there's just some things we can't solve
So is this
or vote
going to
on.
planning and zoning?
it may be reviewed by the zoning officer to determine whether it meets the regulations or if it requires any permit from planning and zoning.
That's fair enough.
And let's see. So yeah, and then the other piece of paper I handed out where I highlighted public hearings. So you, for wetlands, it's different than some other commissions that might hold public hearings regularly. It's fairly rare for this commission because it is limited by statute. The Inland Wetland Agency shall not hold a public hearing on an application unless the Inland Wetlands Agency determines that the proposed activity may have a significant impact on wetlands and watercourses, or wetlands or watercourses, or a petition signed by at least 25 persons who are at least 18 years of older who reside in the municipality. I'm going to skip a few words, but it hinges on within 14 days of the date of receipt of an application, which was about that would have expired a couple weeks ago. Or the agency finds that a public hearing regarding such application would be in the public interest. So
Is
you
the
don't have to
receipt
hold a
date
public hearing.
the date of our meeting?
Yes.
Or the date you get it?
The date of the date of the meeting.
Okay.
The date of the next meeting following submission of the application.
Yeah. Which you got the day before the meeting.
Yeah, it might have been, I forget, it might have been 2 days or 1 day, but I'm only in on certain days.
So if you guys approve this, what's the next step?
The other land use staff would also look at the plan. I know the zoning enforcement officer is aware of the plan, and so she would review, and she may have questions for the property owners as well, and would determine whether it needs any additional permitting from any other town commissions. But,
John Parks, I'm a local resident, excuse me, and attorney, and I think Joanna is doing a good job reciting it. The issue from the public's perspective is when you have a hearing, when something's added at the meeting, the public has no way of knowing before the meeting that was going to happen, and because the 14 days triggers off of that, they've effectively been denied so the public, had that been on the agenda and someone caught it, they would have 14 days to do that petition. But now here we are, almost 30 days, and most of these people, including myself, learned of this few hours ago.
It was on the
The
agenda, though.
application
and
is
last
on the
year.
agenda.
It wasn't
It
on.
wasn't on
It
the
wasn't on
agenda,
the
it was
original
added
agenda.
at the meeting.
It was added at the
That's
meeting.
the,
Yes.
that's the procedure.
Right. You're right. It's a challenge because legally we have to receive it if it was submitted at least the day before. So rightfully you added it to the agenda at the meeting, but I could see the point that the public I think the minutes were posted 7 days after, so there was like a 1 week period where someone could have seen the read the minutes, and
I get what you're saying, yeah.
filed a petition. But
I think we're leaning towards a public hearing anyway.
I mean, that's pretty significant in itself.
Could I
'cause,
comment?
You know,
And
who said that? Oh, yeah.
the chair has already explained that this is an application for a wetland permit. It's not about fertilizer, it's not about manure. It's a wetland permit for a wetland crossing where there's already an existing farm crossing. I would look at it a little differently. I would look at it as if I were building a house there and I were before you to put this driveway in to get to my new house. You would be looking at this a lot differently, I think, and I think that's the context that it should be looked at in, because it's an application for a wetland permit for a driveway culvert. That's what it's about. You have a letter here from a professional soil scientist who's reviewed this, who's been there, he's seen this and reviewed this plan, and has told you that there's no significant impact based on what we're proposing. So I understand that there's public interest, but the public interest is not about this culvert or this brook or this pipe.
But there isn't a house on the other side of it. That's the whole point.
It's about what's
carrying manure over the freaking road. So it's
But
different.
that's-
It
that-
impacts
that's-
the people in the neighborhood that live there.
But
So that's what we're talking about.
that's not going to be covered in public hearing. This is the Wetlands Commission, and we don't have anything. We can hold the public hearing. It does affect 4,000 square feet of wetlands, so to us that's significant. And if it would be in the public interest to come to a meeting and hear the presentation, I think this commission would support the idea of a public hearing. The public, again, will be reminded of the limitations of this commission, though. There's only, you can contact PZC Commission, you can contact the ZEO, you can contact the head of the Land Use Department to be sure that other individuals are looking at this application in other regards. You know, we have nothing to do with what's trucked into town, how many trucks, whether they're leaking. That, unfortunately, does not fall under this commission. So
But
we
it
would.
sounds like it should.
But if they affect the
It
wetlands,
doesn't.
how does it not?
And since they brought it up, what they're going to do with it, I think they
No,
brought it onto the record.
No.
Absolutely.
The
That's
chair,
the
the
context.
chairperson is correctly stating, she's right. This is a wetlands board, but there are issues relative to the wetlands that can be addressed at the public hearing, and everyone will have their say relative to the wetlands. But there's many arms of government, and theirs is wetlands, and she's right.
And the other consideration which we struggle with is everyone's expected to follow the regs, but farming is this huge area where most everything is exempt. So if you have a farming operation, many times you are allowed by statute to do things that a private individual would not be able to. So our hands are tied in a lot of instances. We have a lot of applications come before us that are agricultural, and I'd say a majority of the time we rule that it's a use as of right.
Is that a state
Yes.
statute?
Yeah, generally, if it doesn't involve filling wetlands or clear cutting a wetland, most things fall under the exemption when it's agricultural.
Yeah.
So, just so that everybody understands, the limitations of this board, but also possibly the importance of letting your concerns be made known, whether it's through emails, phone calls, letters. I would recommend putting things in writing to other officials in town that might have a concern or have jurisdiction over other aspects of this. But don't be surprised if, because it's agricultural, that you might not get as far as you think that you should be able to. So
I would appreciate an opportunity with a public hearing to ask questions about and express my concerns regarding storage bins of manure, and if there's any breach or leakage of these bins, how it could potentially affect the wetland areas.
I mean, that's not part of the application that we're reviewing, unfortunately.
Do you look at the impact of the wetlands if something were to not go as planned?
Well, if they're storing manure, I would doubt that they would be doing it next to the wetland.
Do you know that for a fact?
I don't know that they're even going to be storing, but that's...
And these are things that should be coming up.
Oh, okay, so it is.
You're telling us that there is, at that particular time, going to be a mixture of the manure with water. So is there a separate vehicle that's going to sit there and be able to do this? So I think
Jen,
that's
we're
our
just looking at the
concern.
stream crossing. That's all we're looking at is the stream crossing.
That
That's all we-
entire activity, that entire operation is outside of the wetland regulated area, outside of this commission's jurisdiction. We have, if there was some catastrophic spill, that would be dealt with as a spill of manure, but like absent of that, we have no say on any of that, And again, it's focused on the regulated area, which is the wetlands, 100 feet from the wetlands, the disturbance to the stream. Like that's what we're looking at. That's what we have to decide
And then
on.
we need to bring our all of our information to zoning. That's where you're recommending.
Most likely.
Something and send it to zoning as soon as possible.
But this is not necessarily going to go to zoning, right? It's just a person that might be given a heads up. They're not going to be officially asked to look at it.
So, at least from my conversation with the zoning enforcement officer, and this is not my area of expertise, but I'm told that storage of over 16 cubic yards of manure may require zoning review, at least administratively, and then possibly that would rise to requiring a special use permit, but that's all outside of this process. But again, every other aspect of this, other than the stream crossing, would not have triggered an application to this commission. It's really only the stream crossing that is in the regulated area and also is not exempt as a farming activity. When it comes to wetlands, it's different for zoning, but for wetlands, it's pretty limited.
So you guys would only be concerned if there was a catastrophic spill, and you get involved after the fact, not preemptively?
That would probably go to the state or something. That's not. We just issue permits for the public act that the state has. Yeah.
Speed on wetlands commissions. It just seems like if people are storing hazardous material.
We're volunteers. We're not here to solve it. Do any cleanups. Yeah.
Why is it going to be?
So that's a good point. There's also state regulation as well that that this falls under.
What's that?
I can ask them to have a motion and I can state it.
Do you want me to make it?
Otherwise, I'll make it and ask who wants to make it. I can say, is there a motion to?
Okay.
So, is there a motion by this commission to call for a public hearing based on, that it would be in the public interest, but also that we consider the wetlands disturbance to be a significant activity? Because we need both, right?
No, you can just one or the other.
Oh.
But whichever you feel.
We need to go with. Okay.
If one is triggering your your thought that a public hearing is warranted, whether you think it's a significant impact activity based on those like A through G items in the definition, or if maybe based on the the presence of public tonight, which is not usual for us.
That and the fact that was brought up that no one knew that this was going to be on the agenda. I had forgotten that we had added it to the agenda.
Can I ask you a question on that? We were at the last meeting. Do I need to site visit? Why didn't nobody know?
It wasn't on last month's agenda. It was on this month's agenda. It was posted. It should have been posted Thursday for this meeting. It was just the
timing.
If the public wanted to petition to require the commission to hold a public hearing, they would have had to have done that within 14 days of when it was received last month. And it wasn't on last month's agenda, so they only would have detected it from the minutes that came out a week later. So it definitely shortened the time frame for that to occur. But yeah, this month it was on the agenda.
I just want to be clear that we weren't trying to sneak anything.
No, yeah.
All in protocol, it was very clear. Like
for real, I'm a newer pig, my backyard. Again.
So who makes the motion?
I'll make a motion that we shall have a public hearing based on the public interest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that very much.
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on this motion before we vote? All right, all those in favor? Those opposed?
No.
Okay. All right, motion carries. Okay, so that has to be within
65 minutes?
no 65 days of when it was accepted.
Yeah, we should set the date now. Let's see. So you have to start the public hearing within 65 days after the date of receipt, which was last
7th?
month. That was the 7th.
Yeah.
So right now,
We also have to have time to publish notices.
we're at 28 days now. So your regular...
Your March meeting works.
Yeah, your regular
March
March
meeting.
4th meeting
Okay.
works. Yeah. If you want to
March 4th.
go for 7 p.m. or a different time, you can.
Oh, no.
Do you want to keep it at 7?
No, let's start it a little earlier.
6:30.
6:30.
Do you really say the comment?
No.
I mean, we'll meet everybody. We've been running 10 years.
Okay, so that will be at 6:30 on March 4th. To be followed by our regular wetlands meeting.
Will that be in this room?
We'll probably hold it in the auditorium. Sorry for the lack of seating. We don't normally have such an audience.
Where would I look to see the regulations that you guys have involved?
Right on our website. Yeah, if you go to the summer, they have a new website. Anyone notice that?
No.
Yeah.
The town has a new website. So if you go to the Summers Conservation Commission, everything. If you can't find it, because sometimes things get moved and they're tricky, just let us know.
Yeah, you can email me. Or,
thank you guys.
Yeah, I think if you guys just explain really your system and things, because Yeah, I think it's just the education of it.
It's still a little.
Social media blew up.
I heard that. So we no intentions of being sneaky. There's no.
No, we didn't intend that at all.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I appreciate your apology.
No,
Was that Dave? Was that?
people on.
I don't know. It was one of these years.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what it's
Oh,
like to
actually,
go
this is
out
for the other.
I'm like,
You can have it.
I live on Northwest Drive. I'm surrounded by farms too.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. This must be you. Oh, no, this is for you. No, I think you are.
We're stronger than we were. To the point where we're considering this
Oh yeah, that right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. I think it's
See you then.
actually better than like that.
Are you have an event?
Yeah.
Oh, we're doing
Sometime in the next few days, I'll call.
How's the family?
Okay, folks, this is still a meeting Get out of here. Discussion possible decision application 824359 Mountain Road, grading and trenching in the upland review area for a new septic tank and grease trap associated with construction of winery, tasting room, event space, Summers Mountain properties. Thank you all
He's wearing the gear. Cindy's got it too.
It's a bad form because I'm a Steelers fan. They were very embarrassing.
Oh, you're a Steelers fan. Oh. Don't say that too loud.
Very embarrassing this year.
Well, you might get a new coach, so.
Oh, we did.
Truck company now. Yeah. All right, that's what this is.
Okay, so
We're going on to other items on the agenda.
Guys.
Hey,
Excuse us. Excuse us. There's other items on the agenda. Thank you.
Sorry, we're trying to move
you
on
guys
to
will
the
have
next
to meet
item.
somewhere else.
I'm trying to get oriented.
We're new at this.
So north is this way.
Go too well.
You're interrupting.
You have to leave.
I'm sorry.
You have to leave. Go somewhere else. We have to continue our meeting. We don't have all night.
Well, you can sit here.
Thank you, Lee.
When you're a volunteer, you can say things like that, right?
You're the bouncer.
Well, they were ignoring us.
The girls came already started.
Yeah, I know. I want to go home and watch that. I am too.
Bruins are on tonight, so you know we gotta make
No,
a
I'm
move.
watching
They
it.
don't play for 2
UConn
weeks
girls.
after tonight.
The
So.
UConn girls basketball.
in that case,
Okay, sorry. You didn't know we were signing up.
Next week as well. I'm signing up for it, so.
all right.
Okay, are you going to present something, Jay?
Are we ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I'll turn it around so you guys can see it.
Okay.
It's no different than the one you saw really the last time. So for the record, Jay Ursary, J.R. Russo here representing the Murdochs, Worthington Vineyards. And we were here a month ago to talk to you about a permit to conduct some regulated activities, which involves their new building that they're putting out here on the property. At the last meeting, there was some discussion about, I think, extending the silt fence and wrapping it around the building, which we did. We had a site meeting with Joanna. We trudged through the snow and went out there. Unfortunately, we didn't make it before the snow. Oh, it wasn't too bad. Actually, it was a nice day.
We were not there before the big snow. We were there like in between
it wasn't too
snowstorms.
bad. We added a few more notes in terms of some trees that are coming down here. Other than that, I don't think there's a whole lot of changes, to be honest. I know the silt fence was one thing, and we wrapped it up the side of the roadway right over here. where there's some grading going on the side here, but there really haven't been many changes to the plan at all. I don't think that you haven't seen. There is some call-outs for a couple of trees that are going to come down here in the front. One of them is associated with the grease trap, and then a couple others with grading. And then just to get a little more view of the pond, because there's I think we showed you the elevation last time. There's a porch that wraps around here, so there's a nice view looking out towards the pond. And there's some good-sized cedars here that are kind of blocking the view, so a couple of those are going to come down. And they are, well, maybe not. Some of them are in the regulated area, some of them aren't. But Joanna suggested we show them, so we called those out.
Yeah, so later there would be question.
Yeah.
I think that addresses really what we talked about.
I don't think there was anything else. I think we got it all.
And yes, there was snow cover when I was out there, but the areas to be disturbed will
It'll be lawn.
remain lawn as they are now. And then the area where the building is going is currently a kind of asphalt stone pad.
It's a mixture of gravel. There is some bituminous there, and it's where Dan used to have his tent. They had functions there. That was a gravel area that he had, basically in the same spot where this building was going.
And actually, the building itself is outside of the Upland Review area, so it's just some of the grading and like grease trap.
It's a little bit of the grading. Some of the septic components are located down here. It'll tie back into the existing septic line.
So you don't have a problem with it, Joanna? No?
Yeah, I really don't have any concerns.
Yeah.
I've got nothing. Anybody else?
No.
Must be tired.
She's moving it right along tonight.
Who's got
that sheet?
I have it right here. I'll do. You want me to do it?
Yeah, but then I have to talk about all that other stuff, right?
Yeah, the cheat sheet.
I don't even know where
I'll make a motion to approve application number 824, 358 Mountain Road, associated with the construction of a winery tasting room event space based on the following. The Commission finds that the applicant submitted all necessary application materials pursuant to Section 211-7 of the Wetlands Regulations, including but not limited to Section 211-7E5, alternatives considered and rejected. The Commission did not find the proposed activity significant, and the Commission finds that the criteria set forth in Section 211-10B have been met by the applicant.
I'll second that. I don't have those notes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well,
Excited to see it.
see how fast that went?
Okay, new business application 825.
I know.
207 Stafford Road, construction of
Yeah,
addition
bring
and
us a bottle of wine.
patio grading in the Upland Review area.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Hi.
Danielle West representing Giuliano's Pools on behalf of Mark Christensen. They would like to do an addition and an in-ground pool off the side of their house. Unfortunately, their current septic system and reserve occupies most of their backyard, so the setbacks for the health requirements, they cannot fit the pool in the backyard. The pool, as it right now, is 31 feet from the nearest wetlands area. She has copies as well. I gave you both because I wasn't sure.
Open the wrong one.
This is my copy, but she's got them as well. So this is the closest wetlands little patch. There is one over here as well that's about 103 feet from the edge of the pool. And then they are doing an addition off of their current garage between that and the pool as well. What was your last name again? West. Like the direction. Thank you. You're welcome. So we are looking at doing silt fence and straw wattles, obviously along the top of the driveway and along what will be the permanent fence of the pool. That'll be the limit of construction. Joanna also suggested doing some plantings, and she sent over an extensive list that the homeowner is combing through, trying to decide what they would like to plant. But it'll most likely be in a stone bed. Is that a problem? I saw in your email.
Just usually the intent is to kind of have a more natural vegetated area.
Okay.
Because it's close with the wetland. But I mentioned too, because right now there's so much snow, I don't know if we'll have a lot of melting. Because maybe, I don't know if that area between the pool and the wetland, I'm not sure how full of vegetation it is or how sparse it might be, because we could always do the stone little bed and then maybe plant some things in the natural area.
Okay.
Just to make sure that's kind of well vegetated, so anything that runs off has some opportunity to filter out before it reaches the wetland.
Okay. I think that's what our thought was with the stone, but if you would prefer plantings, we can definitely look into that as well.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing with stone is, it can be hot and add some heat to what's running off,
sure.
And it doesn't, it's not necessarily a negative thing, just maybe a combination of the two, or if they really wanted to have the stone bed,
okay.
Or it could just be planted and mulched or seeded, or
okay.
But yeah, usually some combination of shrubs, and I figured they would want tall trees there, but some low shrubs, or and maybe some perennial things depending on what they want.
Right.
But yeah, I sent a list of native kind of riparian area plants.
Well, that's what's on the plan in green.
Yes.
correct?
So
The
yes,
mitigation
they just
plan
haven't
is
decided what
there.
those will be, so I didn't label it that way. But there will be something there. There's also going to be very minimal grade change. The builder who is contracted to do the addition informed me that he's not changing any grade. The elevation is going to match the elevation of the house as that is. And for the pool, just this back corner of the pool would come up a foot. So we're not planning to have any significant grade changes that would send water towards the wetland soils.
Yeah, it's pretty flat there.
Yes.
So it's helpful.
But in addition, because it is so close to those wetland areas, we won't plan on stockpiling at all. We'll just, as we excavate for the pool, we will put it right onto a dump truck and haul it out so that...
It states here that it may be temporarily stockpiled on site, because I noticed that, because it contradicts what
it does
what
contradict.
you had said, that there would be no stockpiling, and it says under phase 1 excavation, excavated material may be temporarily stockpiled on site. So
I can edit
So it's
that.
probably stock language that stayed in there. Good eye, then.
Yes, I can edit that for
yeah,
you for the next meeting if
maybe
you'd
just
like.
this was signed by Brian Cormier.
This is
under the construction.
relatively new house, right?
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
Do we know anything about the wetland itself?
So yeah, it's an interesting. I brought the old files too. Situation there. So there's a culvert that crosses Stafford Road, but it's tight with the road where it discharges, and it's not obviously connected to these little wetland pockets. There's not a stream that carries it to the wetlands. So I'd have to look. I think this is part of the Mink Farm subdivision. I suspect that those wetlands may have been inadvertently created at some point, but I might have more information back from the subdivision. I think the files I have were just from this particular level. Let me see.
That's all lawn now? This whole area? Or is
So
it wooded?
this is all, it's all wooded here.
Oh.
So,
I see the line right there.
yes,
Okay.
yep. So there will be very minimal clearing because we're trying to stay right along that tree line. This is grass over here. They may need to cut back a little bit just for installing the fence and some final grading. Just to clean everything up.
Yeah, I would just show, the limits of clearing for transparency purposes.
Okay.
So, do you recall, when the house was built, was there any, I'm guessing not any monuments or flagging of, permanent monuments for the...
I don't think there's permanent monuments there. They're pretty, distinct, where it just kind of, all of a sudden drops down.
Yeah.
Let's see what...
Because if you're only 31 feet, and then you're going to be clearing in that 31 feet, if that's all woods, and usually you don't want woods going up
to the pool.
Trees and pools don't mix.
So my guess is that you're going to be clearing it pretty close to that wetland there, because you're not even, you're only 25 feet from where the mitigation plantings are to the wetland.
Oh, yeah, so in this case, I think because a lot of time elapsed between when the subdivision was approved and when this house was built, we had conditions when the house was built, not to permanently mark the wetland, but to temporarily reflag the wetland prior to construction starting, so it was clear where that limit was, and then also that they mark the that the wetland agent be notified before clearing begins to approve the silt fence location, limit of clearing. So that was in 2016. And I'd probably have to look back at the subdivision plan to see if there's more information from a soil scientist, if there's any details on that. But from my recollection, it was determined that those little pockets... Oh, actually, I have a photocopy from minutes from 2001, before my time, for the 18-lot subdivision, Hampton and Stafford Roads. Dave Askew said there's very little wetland activity on this property on the east side of Stafford Road. The wetlands are not vernal pools. There is one area of man-made wetland which the commission agreed could be filled. That's referring to a different area. And they were talking about how there was a detention basin. And so this was a larger subdivision, so they're kind of talking about multiple projects. But I remember seeing that note that they weren't vernal pools, because that's what concerns me when I initially see wetland pockets like that. But I remember looking back at the old files for both when the house was built, and then also a few years ago, the prior owners had proposed a detached garage in a similar location to where the pool would go, versus now the new owners are proposing a garage addition attached to the current garage and then the pool. So I had looked back at the old files at that point, but I think that was just a couple
Was the
years ago.
application amended to include the garage addition? Because originally it was just the pool, right?
Yeah, this current one, yes. Originally it was a pool, and then because it was the pool company that was applying, but then, I had suggested, since they're also wanting to do the garage, that it would be simpler for the property owners if it could just all be one application. They wouldn't have to come back for the garage addition. So yeah, what is the... Oh, I see. Yeah, the agenda doesn't say and... oh, no, it says addition and a garage. Okay, good. It does say addition. But yeah, so we got a new... I see what you're saying. Originally, last week, I sent out an application that just said the pool, but we did get a revised one that says both. And now the applicant is actually the property owner, and then the property owner authorized Giuliano's to represent them at the meeting. I got a letter to that effect. So it got a little confusing, but just to clean it up, since it's all gonna. Do you know if the plan is to sort of do both around the same time, or
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then also you mentioned for the pool that the excavated materials will be taken off site right away and not stockpiled. Is that true? Do you know if that's true for the garage as well?
I don't know,
Okay.
but I don't think that they would have a problem with it. We're like coordinating a lot of the work with them, and then I know we will need a final as-built at the end of all of this. Like we're coordinating those to hopefully be done around the same time so that they can be on the same
Yeah.
to submit one.
Just because the main thing would be if the garage was going to involve stockpiling, we'd want to know like where it was
Of
and
course.
make sure there was silt fence around it.
Sure.
But so maybe we can just like confirm that with the builder.
I can. I just got contact with him like yesterday.
Yeah.
It's like, finally.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
So I will find out all of those details before the next meeting from him.
Yeah. So it's not set yet whether your company will be doing the site work for the garage also yet, or is it?
I'm not sure.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
we figured, okay, she had enough information to submit and get this process started, and knowing that we'd have now 4 weeks before the next meeting to kind of iron out, because it was my kind of last minute suggestion, why don't we just put these together into one application? But
Just give Juliana Pools more work.
right?
They can represent the garage.
Okay.
Right.
Like,
And
I
wait
was
through,
like, what is the plan? Do you have plans? What are we doing here?
Who is
Yeah.
the builder for the garage?
Maple Leaf Construction Carpentry. Taylor Atkins.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's in town on Hampton Road.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of work at Juliana's house too.
Yes, they live like neighbors across the street.
Okay.
Yes.
The other thing I did notice too on the application under significant event Q&As, will the proposed activity involve the deposit or removal of material in a near regulated area? The answer is yes, but that question was not answered. It just went on to give details about the pool and the fencing and the silk fence.
Yeah. Okay. So just
I
like
don't think
cleaning
it
up
was
those.
on the application. I'm not sure. This was just the printout.
Oh yeah, the application mostly refers to the narrative, the separate narrative. So yeah, so if you could edit those couple things, or just go through it and make sure it all applies to the subject. I know you were rushing to get it in, but and then I didn't give it as good of a look as Joan did, so I appreciate that. And then hopefully, and I had been out to that site not too long ago, a couple years ago, but I'm hoping it'll be worth visiting before the next meeting, that we'll have some melting and I can see something.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Again, I just have that concern about the clearing that close to that small wetland because the pool is 31 feet from it, but the clearing is going to be closer.
Yeah, maybe labeling that distance on the plan,
The
like
extent of yes.
yeah, it is quite close. You know, it's probably within 25 feet.
Yes.
Yeah, be specific as to the extent of the clearing, and I don't know, with pools, as of the past couple of years, we've had a lot of problems with after the fact.
Right.
Doing a little more work than the site plan suggested, so.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if this is a crazy idea, but I didn't know if there could be a trade-off with more patio on the
other side,
upgradient side, and maybe not have the patio on that side, or just to tighten that up a little.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yes, we can iron out all of those details revisions.
So with the septic, this is the septic, right?
Yes, those are the leach fields.
So the pool basically has to go in first, right? Because once the addition's put in, it doesn't that block access?
It does. Yes. We will most likely excavate and at least build the steel panels, the walls, and then from there, they'll pretty much be able to do the addition without being in our way.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And Drew alluded to the permanent wetland markers. that's something you could consider too. Like with a lot of new houses close to wetlands, there's often a requirement to put in like either stone or concrete posts, and we supply little metal tags that show that wetland edge, because especially as development gets closer, the tendency might be, you're cleaning up yard waste and like dump it in this little depression over here. So because now we're getting closer and closer, that might be a good idea.
Well, and if you've got woods right up to the patio, minus what they're clearing, once you have a pool for a while, more trees are going to come down. That's just the way it usually is.
That's why it's
people in pools and woods.
Well, and sometimes we've done it where you've marked at the limit of clearing instead of actually at the wetland line, so that hopefully it doesn't get converted to lawn
because
later.
it may be fine right now, but we know that
no one likes cleaning leaves out of their pool.
Right, that landowners will do what.
Or it being in the shade in the middle of the day.
Would you require, so in order to put those permanent markings, would we need to have them redelineated?
I think if we're conservative about it and either, sometimes they've been put just on the limit of clearing, or
that might be better.
Yeah, so that there's not because it's so close, so there's not the drifting of that limit of clearing over time. Then I don't think you'd have to redelineate them, and might just
so
be
if we could have a line showing the limit of clearing.
Yeah.
For the next meeting.
Mm-hmm. And I can give you, there's kind of a standard for those permanent markers, but like in this case, you'd probably only need a couple of them because they have to be about 30 feet apart. Yeah, so you'd probably only need like 2 of them or so. Maybe even one like closer to where the driveway meets the garage, and then one alongside the pool maybe. I don't know, just
maybe you can just suggest the placement.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I can't think of anything.
So we can't approve till the next meeting anyway. And so we would just want to see those couple of things.
For the March 4th one.
Yeah, which so now we'll have public hearing at 6:30.
So who knows when we'll get into
I was going to say, is it safe to say just show up at 7 anyways?
Yeah, I would say at least.
Yeah, probably could be a little later. I know, and I guess public attention just grew dramatically today for the other application, or I might have I might have given you a heads up that it might be a little later. Oh, actually, this isn't that bad. It's only
we're doing good.
Yeah. But the public hearing will go on longer.
Well, half of them you're going to have to stop them because they're going to talk
Yeah, I was
about
trying to
something
think
that
if you have to announce a special meeting.
That's not happening?
That's why I said no, because you know they're going to do it. They're going to want to have their say.
Oh, like call it a special meeting, like at 6 or 6:15 or something.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Later. Okay. All right.
It's been so long since we've had public hearing. I can't remember if we normally have to
One
say
last
it's
comment
a
for
special
consideration. Do you know, this might be too far out, but do you know where the filter would be? I always bring this up on pools.
Yeah, it's going to likely be behind the...
Okay.
Yep, so it's like hidden.
Okay.
It is...
Go ahead. No, you go.
It is also a cartridge filter, so there's no backwashing feature with it, which it comes up a lot with wetlands. But the homeowner could take the cartridge out and just hose it off with a garden hose. Yeah, so and they can carry it anywhere they needed to do that. It doesn't have to be like in this pool area.
Okay, thank you.
Oh yeah, and I guess it might say it in your narrative whether this pool has to be drawn down in the winter, and like we wouldn't want the it to like the chlorine to end up in the wetland directly, but
yeah, so it likely will be just a few inches. We typically will have homeowners. We could send it this way if you wanted to, or down the driveway to a storm drain. The pools that we've been installing are all mineral systems, so it's 0.5 parts per million chlorine, which is less.
Okay.
It's less than what's in drinking water. We can do it either way, but we would definitely make sure that our crews know that this is not an acceptable area to be.
The catch basin goes right into the brook, so
yeah.
I would like
so
do it to the backyard or something.
Okay.
Okay. Would you say it's a mineral?
Yep, it's a mineral system. So it still like converts it to chlorine, but it just doesn't require nearly as much to sanitize. So yes.
Okay. Interesting. All right. So I think any of that you can just make plainly obvious on either the plan or the narrative, and just that they agree, and then and then hopefully Taylor can kind of agree to the same plan, and either not stockpile or show us where he's going to stockpile. And
sure.
Okay.
I don't believe that he would attend the next meeting, but I'll make sure I have all those details from him.
Yeah.
And if there are any questions that might come up for him, if it's possible that I could know them before, I could definitely get you the answers.
Yeah.
For them, so.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Is this your copy?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for dropping us off.
We're just doing reports and stuff.
That's okay. Yeah.
Well, we haven't seen any other things.
No, I have.
You too.
That's okay. I don't have to work tomorrow, so I can stay up late. I don't have to work tomorrow.
You get the day off?
I do.
So I should add to the agenda for audience participation.
Oh,
We
no.
should limit it to like items not on the agenda. But like a lot of agendas will say that on them.
Right.
But anyway, just I thought I had last minute, like, I don't have that on.
I know. Okay, audience participation. Yes, Kevin.
So, just a couple of questions on the DPW comments tonight. They referenced an engineering study that was done on Old Camden Road, which kind of directed them to do certain activities. I don't know if that's a public record. I don't know if that's something we could look at, or you guys could review and understand the nature of what they requested.
I can certainly ask.
Half of a copy of it, right? Yeah, he said that.
Yeah, I don't know if it was much of a study or like a cost estimate. It wasn't clear to me, but I can ask.
I mean, I'd like. He mentioned it was an engineering study.
Okay, he did say study. Okay.
It's a little more specific, because one of the things that I would like to bounce that off of is the culverts, the way they're positioned. Some of them are not functioning. So we either install them too high or too...
And sometimes that's intentional, where they'll have like high flow, low flow, like they might, like maybe normally 2 or 3 that are enough, but then they do one like emergency kind of one. But yeah, it doesn't sound like an engineering plan was followed anyway, was used. I'm not sure if they actually got to the point of plans or not.
In other words, was there a stormwater plan? Was there an erosion plan?
Right.
Was there any of that kind of stuff taken into account before they started work? And this is all kind of post-mortem, I get it, and I understand, but there's a transition of land use, and DPW are shuffling some roles, so just for the record, I'd love to see what kind of due diligence they had done that they mentioned tonight.
Yeah.
And then after the fact, how does the town feel about alerting? And I don't know where the town stops and the state takes over. Would it be wise for the town to report this activity to DEEP after the fact?
I don't think they would do anything after the fact.
Especially with their 3 employees.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it'll have any value in this building to know that, okay, I mean, you know, there's the fluff, and we want to give gray area where we can give gray area, but I think feet to the fire is just I'll leave that up to you guys, but I'm just thinking if that had happened on a non-municipality effort, what would we have done next? And I think we should try to do the same thing. Then that's crystal clear in my head and other people's minds that the town can't do anything that we don't ask our residents to do. On the Giuliano thing with the earthworks, a couple of things were discussed at last meeting. From the escape from the property, came down the hill, got into the stream. We noticed some stuff had gotten into the stream. Is there anything we discussed, or you guys discussed? Was it a citation or a violation? There was some discussion on whether or not there was going to be some kind of a next step.
Right.
Whether it was the right thing to do or not do, I just wanted to know if any decision was made on that.
So, not formally, I mean, me trying to follow my typical process and not be inconsistent. You know, my normal procedure would be trying to get cooperation and have the situation resolved. And I did get very speedy action. So to me, it seemed unnecessary to issue a notice of violation at that point. But versus if they had not been cooperative and nothing was done. But there was, a lot of communication, a lot of response. A video was sent of some of the measures that were put in. So I didn't go further than that, but if you felt that anything more was needed, I do your bidding.
I mean, I think that was, we were going to wait to hear potentially more. I don't know if that was on the staff report, but we talked about it last month. I think maybe there was just question as to whether we felt it was completely stabilized at this point, if it required ongoing monitoring discussions, or
we'll see when the snow melts.
Yeah, or check it in the spring.
I know. Right. The problem is, between last meeting and this meeting, we just got snow, and more snow. So it definitely took some things off the radar a little bit. But and I had reached out to the town attorney with the question about, if a permit could be required at this point now that it already has a special use permit. I did not hear back, so I can reach out again.
Okay. And I guess my final point would be if, exactly like the snow melts or the spring rains come, should the site be a candidate for a more of a comprehensive erosion plan, stormwater plan?
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Than was required in the beginning.
Where we left it is a little fuzzy. I thought I had the impression that you might be contacting DEEP or.
I wanted to wait until. I prefer much of everything that goes on go through you guys, and then I would definitely reinforce with a letter from a resident saying.
Okay, I might have misunderstood. Okay.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I can.
It should almost come from zoning, no? It's like a...
Right, it's actually, that's a good point. It is it is zoning who would do those sort of erosion control reviews.
Except if it's going to be impacting the
Right,
stream and the wetlands.
right, yeah.
Yeah, but he's talking about a referral to the state for like construction stormwater.
Right.
or something like that,
Yeah.
right? Like that would
Yeah.
come from.
I could
think,
talk
from
to
zoning.
Jen about that. But I'm gonna make a
When
note.
I initially contacted Deep, they mentioned, to talk to the town liaison, unless it had something to do with the wetlands. And then if it had something to do with wetlands, they would be interested in discussing it further. I think when we reviewed the wetlands originally, it was more up on the corner towards Hamden. But really the escape is kind of happening where they have created roadways or paths up and around the area.
Yeah.
So I think it's now touching the wetlands in my book, the waterways, and for the hill and the way the road's constructed. I think maybe a revisit on whether or not zoning should be looking at them for a control plan that has something to do with wetlands. I don't know where that intersects with what you guys do.
Right, but all of that erosion from a few weeks ago, that went right into the brook and the wetlands. So,
Right, so it's tough. It was, you could call it a wetland violation. Again, I didn't issue a notice because they were responsive, but I guess the question is,
going forward.
Right, I guess there's a difference between, so normally if there's an activity that's outside of the regulated area, it doesn't typically trigger a wetland permit unless an unusual finding that it is likely to have an impact on wetland, like if it was, depending on the nature of the project maybe, that's not really been a factor in the past, but I lose myself in my comment now, but if a violation occurs, like let's say one of the farming activities we find exempt, but then, and this happened, within the last year, an exempt activity ended up impacting the wetland, and in this case, there wasn't the response we would hope for to remedy the situation quickly, and we did issue a notice of violation and a cease and correct. So anyway, what I'm trying to get at is, even if an activity didn't require a wetland permit initially, a violation is still a violation, and then you treat it through enforcement, and you potentially issue a notice and deal with it as a cease and correct, possibly if need be, but you don't resolve a violation with a permit after the fact. It's like the more I was thinking about it, it didn't make a lot of sense to me to require a permit after the fact. Right. More so you deal with the violation, and because Deep would say a permit is voluntary and you don't actually have to do that activity. So if you really want to fix something, you want to handle it through enforcement. A lot of times we try to be friendly and allow a permit after the fact, give someone the benefit of the doubt, but really if it's a violation, it should be handled by enforcement and not like a permit after the fact. But there's different mentalities there. But so to me, it didn't seem, and I did reach out to the town attorney. I can reach out again, but I didn't really necessarily see that as consistent with how we operate to require a permit after the fact, when we sort of declined to require a permit in the first place. But
and I'm sorry, the permit is for the erosion control plan? What was
we only regulate activities, usually activities within 100 feet of wetlands and watercourses. And then if something occurs that impacts a wetland that maybe wasn't deemed a regulated activity because it wasn't within 100 feet, but you see an impact like we did, then that would be a violation. You don't necessarily have to issue a permit for it, but you have to resolve the violation. Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, it had been addressed, at least temporarily. That might be the larger issue of what's the plan down the road and what other work is being done. And, it's not entirely clear to me what's the ultimate plan there. And I haven't seen a formal erosion control plan, anything like that. So that I think is the bigger question maybe. But But yeah, I don't see it as like that it would have triggered a wetland permit per se, but it did cause a wetland violation. Anyway, that's my long-winded answer.
So in pursuit of something more permanent or more future-looking,
Yeah.
what is the Wetland Commission an avenue for me, or go to deep?
I think probably more deep, or going through
Or go
zoning
Zoning?
to work on that with deep. I mean, I can bring up that topic that.
Because the other thing with deep that kind of rides with this, I believe it does, is we're now exceeding 6 acres of disturbed land.
Right, and I don't think that's what was originally proposed.
Right.
So I think that would have triggered, like over 5 acres would have triggered the stormwater construction general permit. So I don't know that it was clear to, whether it was clear to zoning that it was that much
They
disturbance.
haven't changed the regulation. It's 3 acres, right?
But I can bring that up anyway, at least on a
Because they're
staff
on
level.
zoning, right? They haven't
And,
changed it. I know
but yeah,
gravel
it might be
is
something
3
that
acres.
deep
Because they
would
were fast,
bring
right?
into their jurisdiction because of the extent of disturbance.
I thought the regulations for gravel banks were 3 acres. You can work at a time.
Yeah, and I don't think this was approved as a gravel operation, but it was kind of like site earthwork, I think.
Earthwork, yeah.
Earthwork, what's the difference?
Yeah.
This is removing boulders, not gravel.
Okay. Were they crushing those boulders?
They claim no.
No.
They were just hauling them
I don't
off site.
think so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your comments.
And did you want to speak to us?
No, I'm with the Catlett. Yeah, I'm just here.
But you can introduce yourself.
My name is Jeff Catlett. I'm currently the health director in town
Oh,
sanitary.
okay.
Effective February 22nd, I'll be the director of health and land use.
And with all the excitement today, he kindly offered to give some backup. Come see what it's all about. But, yeah.
And okay, so you're the sanitarian.
Correct. I'm the health director in the city.
Thank you.
Okay, so what's your background in land use?
So I've been in local public health for 25 years, working in septic systems, wells, general
Right.
environmental. Worked in land use departments throughout the state, working with building officials, zoning officials, and we've had a very collaborative environment where, just for example, today we had somebody come in building a house, and we all gathered in an area. We guided them through the process of what their septic system should be, what their house should, building, and also zoning. So, I came from the town of Manchester. I was there for 12 years. And I manage a staff of 14 individuals in that environment.
Okay, so Todd isn't going to be involved with the land use department anymore? then?
My knowledge is there'll be a transition period.
Okay.
So effective the 22nd of February, Todd will be the Director of Public Works. I'll assume Todd's role with some guidance over a transition period.
Okay. And you have time to do both jobs? I don't know what the workload for the
Yeah, so we have a
was.
full-time building official, a full-time zoning enforcement. Joanne has a weapons agent that's in a few days a week. We have a quality control agent, so we will distribute the work accordingly among our fields. And then my role moving forward will be more oversight of those, not necessarily doing that work.
Okay, so as director of land use, then you'll pretty much know everything that's going on that any of the commissions, which is really just 2 now, wetlands and
Like I said, ZBA.
PZC. So you'll be aware of, you'll kind of have your hands on, because what we've been lacking is communication and kind of coordination so that everybody knows so that's going to be your role.
Yep.
Yeah, and he'll be there full time, whereas before most recently the role's been like split between different.
Yeah, so the town always had a full-time sanitarian, Steve Jacobs, and he wore many hats, and a part-time health director that was contracted that would come in a couple hours a month. So I was the director of Manchester, and now I assume the sanitarian role and health director combined.
Yeah, and sorry, I meant as land use director, you'll be in the department full time.
Oh, yeah, I'll be there full-time to facilitate and encourage collaboration on a daily basis. Yeah.
And you're still gonna be serving in the sanitarian and director of health role?
Yep.
Okay. Welcome aboard.
All right, staff report.
All right. So, don't want to make this too long. So I don't, noticeably don't have an update. We didn't have 330 South Road on the agenda this month because honestly, it just snowed, and there was no sense in trying to see what the ground looks like over there. That's on Dave Tulloch's property. Yeah. He had come to the land use office to chat a little bit and try to figure out timing, and then we just got so inundated. But hopefully, I'll be able to visit there. He still sounded willing to have me out there, but still a little apprehensive about what a resolution could look like. We talked a little bit more, and some of the ideas I had brought up at the last meeting about a little bit of give and take, I don't think were very well received. So I'll have to see what if we can come to some kind of solution or not. Once I'm able to look at it.
Pretty much got to wait for all this snow.
I know, it's
really
just impossible out there.
What's going on out there?
Yeah, that's why I figured there was no sense in going out there now.
Could be a couple months at this point before we can talk.
That groundhog says,
yeah, more snow coming. More snow coming this weekend.
Defer to April.
Otherwise, let's see. There's a forester came to me with a project at 256 Mountain Road.
Say a forester?
Yes.
A fourther.
Oh, God. I must be slurring now. And there is a stream and a low wetland area close to the road. This is a large property on Mountain Road. I forget how many acres, but it's quite large. And there's just one house. There's a driveway and a house, and then like kind of to the side, there's along the road, there's a stream and a wetland area. But the property goes way back. Actually, goes up quite high in elevation. But anyway, so the forester was not planning to go into the wetland area and was requesting my review that it didn't need to come to the commission. We were back and forth a bit because I wanted to see the limit of work, the limit of the forest harvest, all of that. So ultimately, and I wanted it, shown clearly on the sketch where the landing area was, all those details. So ultimately, I was able to determine that they weren't doing work within 100 feet.
The property was delineated?
No, it wasn't delineated by a soil scientist, but there's like a pretty clear drop in topography, and we don't normally for forestry have a delineation, but I wanted to have at least more information. It was a very straightforward one where there's no crossings at all. They're going to use the driveway as access, and then the landing area is going to be on the farther side of the driveway, away from the wetland. So it didn't seem to rise to needing to come before this commission because there's no activity in the upland review area. So I did give them the go ahead, but it's something I can keep an eye on.
Do you know if it's a clear cut or a select?
No, it was selected. It was I don't think I brought that file down with me. But trying to think, I think there were areas of ash that needed to be cut. It was both, it was going to be of benefit to the property owner. There was value in the harvest, so it wasn't just management, but it was a mixture of management and like salvaging some of the ash, and it was a sale of timber, but it was by a licensed forester with the state, and who spoke to all the measures they take, and but yeah, in this case with no crossing and no harvesting within 100 feet, and not even the skid roads or the landing were within 100 feet. So I gave them a pass on coming in here to explain that, because it would have been the there would have been really nothing to discuss, but just wanted to mention that because if, he might observe it. And again, if you see anything that doesn't sound like what was represented, let me know, but I'll try to keep an eye on it.
Kind of topography too. I mean, you got a
Right.
potential for erosion.
Yeah, I brought that up because there is quite elevation there. So we talked about stabilization. Oh, actually, so the part of the reason for the urgency was he wanted to get out there in the snow and get it all done while things are frozen, which is ideal. So hopefully he'll be out of there before everything melts.
Did he have a harvest plan or anything?
Yes. Yeah. He submitted the notice of timber harvest and plan, but I had him enhance that to show because it showed the skid trails and things, but it didn't show like a limit of harvest, and so I wanted things to be more clear cut for me to give him the go ahead to start. But he was really hoping that, like, as soon as the snow was down, he was getting more more anxious because we don't have a lot of winters like this where there's conditions like that where you could just not cause ruts and just get in and out cleanly. So that's the hope out there, but so hopefully the snow holds for him. And then otherwise, over on 143 Four Bridges Road, which is Grower Direct's secondary location. There's something that doesn't really usually rise to the level of needing a wetland permit, a gas permit, but they were proposing a 30,000 gallon propane tank and quite close to wetlands. So I was tasked on that, and I reached out to explain that a project that size and that close to wetlands would have to come before the commission. So they're currently reviewing if there's another location. There's a lot of other restrictions they've got out there with how close they can be to buildings and all of that, but I color-coded plans for them to show where the wetland line is in the upland reviewer and said basically if you can stay out of this area,
isn't that
great.
practically in a floodplain?
Well, that's the other thing that was brought up. I forget if the fire chief or fire marshal said something about the floodplain too. But yeah, that's the other issue too, is having something that size so close to the stream and in that area might not be the best idea anyway. So we'll see if they come back with something to present here or if we can resolve it where they're not in the upland review area. And then that's pretty much it. There's a site that didn't have to come to you because the wetland's very far back. It's 49 Mance Hill. It's been kind of an ongoing stabilization issue where initially, probably over a year ago, landscaper was installing a pool there with no permits at all from the town. And eventually that was resolved. I forget how that came to light. I think an electrician went to pull a permit with the town for the pool, and the land use department's like, what pool? We don't have any permits for a pool. But the pool was already mostly in at that point. So anyway, they ended up getting a new contractor, and they had to resolve a retaining wall that was put in improperly and wasn't designed properly and wasn't stable. So this new contractor replaced the wall, but in doing so, he kind of made this bench in the grade. It was kind of a steep slope going from the wall to the back of the property, and it's very steep at this point, where I'm worried it won't be able to be stabilized permanently. So we've been back and forth, and then the snow came, but we have plans to meet out there, the contractor and the property owner and myself, to look at that slope and see what can be done to ease the slope or use other best management practices to stabilize it permanently. They had used like erosion control matting, but that's not really meant to be
what
long
number
term.
Is that?
49. But the property owners have been through a lot, so I'm sympathetic to that. But I want to make sure that slope's going to hold. It's, supporting the area where their pool is, and the
They're
retaining
getting
wall.
some money back.
I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's all I've got for staff report.
I move we accept Joanna's report.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, correspondence and bills.
So I just have correspondence. There's the Connecticut Association of Wetland Scientists Conference, March 4th. It's a Wednesday
expensive, though.
down in
Yeah.
Southington. It is expensive. It's like $150.
Yeah.
It's usually a good one. I typically
March
always
4th?
go, but
Can go.
I
yeah.
don't want to go to that one.
No, I know. So it's the day of our meeting, which now is earlier, and it's down in Southington. So I'll probably I'll probably leave there a little bit early and race here. But it was like that last year. They must always hold it. I don't know if they always hold it the first Wednesday or what, but I remember last year. So now I'll be scrambling a little extra, but I think it makes sense to start earlier anyway, and because we'll probably have a lot of public comment from the looks of things tonight.
What if they stick to wetlands issues? There won't be much comment at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who's going to be moderating that?
You tell them I won't be here.
Me neither.
Otherwise,
Sitting
I didn't get the
I don't like doing public
bill
hearings.
yet.
Well, I don't either. No one likes them.
I don't like being in
The
charge.
moderator.
I've done all of like one or two.
Do we have to vote on that? We don't vote.
No, because I didn't have a bill. I'm trying to think. Wait, did we not have an approval at the last meeting?
We
did.
approved
Was it
bills.
jurisdictional or was it a permit?
We approved the couple bills.
We have. Hold on, I got it. We may not.
I
have
don't
voted.
notice the
business with
jurisdictional.
none.
Oh,
We
okay.
didn't have any.
That's why. So we didn't have a bill.
No bill.
Okay.
And now, do you have to take care of all the notices for the public hearing and all of that?
It's a good question.
15 days
I'll have to talk
the
to-
newspapers and all
I
that.
know.
Yeah, we don't do them very often.
I know it's been a minute, and I have
As
signs.
zoning, they just did one
Yeah,
this fall.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think our last public hearing was in 2020 over Zoom. So that was fun.
Oh, okay.
For like the
All right, minutes approval. I had just there were a couple typos.
We did pay bills last month.
Couple of
Yeah, I noticed I put a.
the only thing was page 3 at the top. So Joan Cormister pointed out that these rules come from the state, not Summers. I think I said that we have state and town regs to follow because some of it does come from Summers.
That's true, I did too.
So I think I just said Joan Cormister stated we have state and town regs to follow.
Okay.
And then there was
I read them.
there was one, a word was misspelled, and it was when we were talking about speaking with the first selectman. I wasn't sure if we said items are largely complaint-driven or compliance-driven.
Oh,
Yeah,
is it a mixture of the two?
complaint-driven. No, it's complaint-driven.
Okay.
Most of the items that come here are based on complaints that people make. It's not like they're.
But they're also compliance because there are people that are doing things.
Oh, what does it say? Does it
It
say
should be
complaint?
complaint-driven, but.
Well, it's spelled COMPLAINCE.
I have an
Oh.
AI helper. You know.
It's a combination.
Yeah.
Those were some minutes,
What page
though.
was that? That was like.
Not for this one, no, I remember when we first moved into Wood
audience
Road,
participation.
that first
Oh, okay,
year,
I'll just undo that.
in December, it was, and was zero.
Sorry they were so long.
The
Oh,
water
that's fine.
bucket.
But there was one
One
other thing at the very end of the staff report.
Yeah, but it didn't last, it was only a few
We
days.
reported
What do they
more
use
about
besides
our
their
meeting
body
with
heat?
Tim.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they have heavy, they have blankets, but they have
He
heavy
stated
fur.
that Joanna doesn't always know what's
Yeah,
going
if
on,
you don't blanket
formal
them, they'll
reports.
grow real heavy fur.
And it should be the land use
Depending on how
department
cold
is
it
not
is.
functioning well.
But if you put blankets on, they won't have that heavy fur.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Got a couple too.
Now, of course, the town clerk's office.
And then this one right here, I gotta get rid of
Oh.
the next one.
The town clerk's office had informed me that, like, they don't want revised minutes, but just to state
Right.
these edits
Yeah.
in the next minutes.
Yeah.
So I know.
No, because somebody looks at the minutes and they're
not
not
gonna know.
accurate.
I
and
know.
they're not going to know that they were corrected at the next
I know.
meeting.
Right.
So-
It's like when you have to attach.
I would do it with track changes. You can show what was
Well,
amended
but
or something.
It always says minutes are not official till approved. So
Right.
I think that
I
they're
know.
approved with changes.
We used to
Not-
always revise
it's like
them.
we're not approving these, we're approving these
With
changes.
modifications, yeah.
What did you say?
So one, I actually is just a question for Joanna. So on the 33 South Road, this is page 2 of the minutes. It talks about the encroachment on the other property, and it says the encroachment had spanned both properties and has reportedly been resolved by a land transfer.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is
the
that-
two owners did a quick claim
Yeah.
deed, so
Oh, they
that
did.
now he owns where he
Okay.
went
Yeah.
over the property line and in violation.
Okay.
So it didn't resolve the violation, but it made it all on one
His
property.
land.
Yeah.
For better or worse. All right. I don't know how you want to do this, Cindy, but on the bottom of that page,
Page 2?
this is just for clarification. So it goes on to page 3. It says Drew stated that he could meet with Joanna. I just wanted to change it to Drew stated that Dave Tulloch could meet
Oh.
with Joanna.
Okay.
Just for clarity. I'm not meeting with Joanna. No offense, Joanna. Just because it could be read either way.
I gotcha.
And then, tell me if I'm going too fast, but now I'm on application 823, which is page 1, 2, 3, page 4 at the top, second sentence or second line. Joanna Shapiro pointed out that there are, and this is just a preference for me, but it says there are culverts you can use. I think it should say options that you can use that won't involve filling the stream.
Oh, okay.
Because we were trying to advocate for things other than culverts, right?
Or like,
Yeah, that's what we're trying to
Yeah.
look at.
right. Or it could be crossings.
Or crossings, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
That too, yeah. And then I think there's one other. Oh, you just spelled my last name wrong. I'm gonna.
Oh,
It's so hard. I tried
No,
it.
don't worry about it. That one's fine.
Did I spell it wrong through the whole thing?
No, just in one spot. Everywhere else was actually perfect.
Okay. Whoops.
No, we don't need to.
Okay.
We're good.
Motion to accept the minutes.
I
as
make a motion we accept the minutes as amended.
All right.
Dan seconds. We got to get him in this
Give me a
meeting.
second.
Wake up, Dan.
I'm taking it all in.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion we adjourn.
A second.
Second.
All third.
I just wanted to ask, was that out of line by telling them they had to leave?
No, but maybe your wording could have been a little more.